Hey guys, it's Blevins here with heroesofartifact.com, and I'm going to go over another one of the PAX West deck lists. I'm going to go over the blue-black deck here, that is the Aggro deck, and I'm just going to jump right into it, give you a little bit of a card evaluation and an overall summary of what I think of this archetype after having seen it for 3 days and gotten to see the cards be played and see the deck be played against a lot of the other ones. So let's jump right into it. So this deck description here is: hit the opponent's tower hard and fast. Your troops are vulnerable. You must deploy your resources wisely, exploiting the weaknesses of your opponent since you cannot match their strength head on. Dimensional Portal provides the raw materials you'll need. Assault Ladders and Disciple of Nevermore provide the support you'll need to decimate the enemy tower. So, classic aggressive strategy. So we're going to start off here with the heroes. First one is Jume the Wise, blue hero, 3 attack, 8 health. This is very creep negative. If you're wondering what I say when I say creep negative, positive, or neutral, check out one of the video I made about that term. So Jume, 3/8 blue hero with the active ability of draw a card. On paper here, not a very strong hero. Stats are bad, and I know the cooldown here for this ability is 4. So drawing 1 card every 4 turns, not the strongest, and the stats are not the strongest. But I think here this is definitely going to be a supporting hero because Jumai's signature spell here is Battlefield Control, 1 mana, blue spell. Choose a unit. You choose a combat target for it. So this card's deceptively strong. It is a 1 mana interaction spell that allows you to potentially throw off combat, kill a hero, kill one of their heroes, save one of your heroes, potentially move combat to do more face damage. It's very versatile, and this effect is much stronger than I think a lot of people have evaluated it as off the bat. But you can tell just from hearing the casters talk about these effects that they're actually quite strong in this game. So while Jume is not the strongest hero stats and even ability wise, the spell in a sense makes up for it. I don't think you're going to be building a deck around Jume, but if you need another blue hero, you're going to get at least some value out of having Jume in your deck. Next up here is Sorlakan. So it's a black hero, 8 attack, 6 health with a passive ability or continuous effect called Warmonger, which says Sorlakan deals +4 damage when attacking a tower. So very straightforward. Creep negative again, with only 6 health here, but does hit very hard. Can actually kill a lot of heroes on her own, and then also does 12 damage to a tower. So that's 4 hits of just her that kills a tower unmodified. She's killing towers very quickly, and her signature spell here is Assault Ladders, which is a 3 mana black improvement. It says allies deal +2 damage when attacking a tower. So like this, the deck description led you to believe you're going to be building up a very wide board, which means you're going to be putting a lot of minions and creeps into your lanes, pumping them up with Assault Ladders and taking down a lane very quickly. You can very quickly, if you take a lane very quick, you take a first tower very quickly, perhaps your opponent gives up on that tower. It's cards like Assault Ladders and Sorlakan where you can double up and potentially even take down an Ancient with a deck like this. So Assault Ladders, very, very strong card, and Sorla obviously pairs very nicely with her in this aggressive deck. Next up here on the heroes is Necrophos. Necrophos is a black hero, 5 attack, 6 health, again, creep negative here, with the passive ability Sadist. Modify Necrophos with +1 health after an enemy neighbor dies. So actually not creep negative, creep positive because of the passive ability. Necrophos can be very hard to deal with if you can cause a lot of heroes to die. You think perhaps running Necrophos in a black-red deck, if you give him Cleave, you're going to be able to be gaining a lot. You're going to be gaining potentially 3 health every turn if they attack and can kill 3. If he can kill 3 things. The other thing that he's very good with is his own Heartstopper aura, which says modify a black hero with deal 2 piercing damage to this hero's enemy neighbors before the action phase. So it's like a built-in cleave. It's like cleave on a stick, except it happens before the combat phase. So it's actually better than cleave too, and it's piercing damage, so that goes through armor. Heartstopper aura, very, very strong, especially when combined with Necrophos himself. I saw a game where I believe, I don't remember who it was, one of the players put 3 Heartstopper auras onto Necrophos. And of course, this is modify, so that means it stays forever, even after death. So, very strong ability here that can really cause a black hero to completely take over a lane. Even putting this on Sorlikon is going to be fine, because it's going to open her up to be able to hit the tower more often. So, very strong card here in Heartstopper aura. Next up here is Zeus, which we also see in the blue-red deck. Zeus is a blue hero, 3 attack, 7 health, creep negative, and he has the passive ability Static Field. Zeus will deal 1 piercing damage to Zeus's enemy neighbors after you play a blue spell. So he's not able to take out creeps on his own, but if you're casting a spell in the lane, you're going to be able to zap not just the hero, the enemy across from you, but also the its 2 neighbors as well. So it can be very strong with cards like we talked about, Battlefield Control, and these very cheap blue spells. The Zeus can really control a lane quite nicely and open up a lane to be able to go wide and get attacks in with your Sorlikon and your Assault Ladders. Zeus's signature spell here is one of the flashiest spells, and actually has a flashy ability. That is going to be Thunder God's Wrath, 7 mana blue spell, deals 4 piercing damage to each enemy hero in all lanes. So very strong, able to affect all 3 lanes before they have actions. Being able to take out a hero is very strong. Being able to take out heroes in other lanes is extremely strong. Thunder God's Wrath, one of the more powerful cards in the game, and it is piercing damage, so even is going to go through armor again. Very, very strong here, and just really, really just a very strong card that you can set up really kind of crazy turns, and yeah, you can set up really crazy turns with Thunder God's Wrath, and you get the gold when you kill those heroes too, so you can potentially rack up, just have a huge turn with that. And the last hero here is Crystal Maiden. Crystal Maiden, blue hero, 2 attack, 5 health, with a passive ability Arcane Aura. After the first time an allied spell is played in each lane, restore 2 mana to the tower in that lane. I've seen some discrepancies here, and I'm not 100% sure if it's only the first time or if it's every time, and if it's in any lane or if it's just in the lane that she's in. Not sure, but according to Artifact Buff, that's what the ability does, so take that for what it's worth. Able to, get a lot more value out of your spells, cast additional spells in the lanes, of course, when Crystal Maiden is out. And Crystal Maiden's signature spell here is Frostbite, deals 2 damage to a unit, and disarm it this round. That means it does not attack this round. Quite strong. Again, being able to stop an attack can really throw people's plans off. Being able to kill units can really throw people's plans off. Just being able to interact with your opponent's board is very, very powerful. This is no exception here. Moving on here, we are going to go, that's all the heroes here, so we're going to go and start talking about the spells. First one here is Strafing Run, is a 1 mana blue spell, deals 2 damage to each enemy creep. Cheap interaction, very good in this game. It's cheap interaction that can deal only with creeps, but so it doesn't hit heroes, but even so, it's still quite strong. Triggers Zeus. It can give you it doesn't actually give you extra mana with Crystal Maiden, but it triggers Zeus and can really be quite good. But it is a type of thing where if you have 3 mana, you can play Frostbolt on something and then also have the mana to play a Strafing Run, potentially take out some extra creeps. Very strong card. Speaking of strong cards, we also have the Grazing Shot. It's a 1 mana black spell. Does 2 damage to a unit in any lane. So it doesn't do as much damage, but can hit any unit, so including heroes, but also in any lane. Being able to affect other lanes is very powerful. Being able to kill heroes at whim. You can potentially, if they've gotten greedy and their heroes down to 2 health, you can cut them off of a color, which is kind of like a soft lock in a lane. Being able to do that in and of itself is very strong, and being able to do it in other lanes is extremely strong. You can really throw off people's plans if they're banking on having a certain color in a certain lane. Very strong card, especially for 1 mana. Next up here we have the Untested Grunt, a 2 mana black creep, 4 attack, 2 health. This is the creep trader. You're going to be able to put him in a spot, trade with a creep, one gold for 1 gold. That's basically the long and short of it. Of course, he does have 4 attack, which is nice. Pairs nicely with your assault ladders. He is a decent threat on his own. He can trade up potentially with a hero to deal 4 damage. I think of this card as more of a removal spell, although in this deck maybe it needs to be aggressive, but in for the most part I'm thinking of this more of a removal spell than anything else. It's a 2 mana common card, and I think it's not the greatest card in the world, but it is a nice placeholder. Moving on here, we've got Better Late Than Never, a 3 mana blue spell, summon a melee creep into any lane. Again, being able to affect any lane is very good. A 2/4 creep is not the greatest, but potentially can add some extra attack into a lane that your opponent may have thought that they were winning or not dying. It obviously works well with assault ladders and whatnot, but being able to affect other lanes is going to be the strongest part of this, for sure. Moving on here, we've got one of the signature cards in the deck. That is Disciple of Nevermore, 3 mana black creep. It has 4 attack, -2 armor, and 4 health. It says other allies have +2 attack and -2 armor. So this basically turns all of your units into glass cannons. You're going to be hitting very hard, but you're going to be taking additional damage. -2 armor works exactly how I originally thought it would, which means they just take 2 extra damage regardless. So, it's going to make it so that creeps are now trading with other creeps regardless of their health. But the best part about Disciple of Nevermore is that if it goes unchecked, it is going to take down lanes very, very quickly. It can allow you to trade heroes and creeps where your opponent may thought they wouldn't have been able to. It's actually quite versatile card, even though it is somewhat of a narrow scope of what it's doing. It can be used in a couple different situations. Very, very strong card. And I think this is kind of almost a signature minion of the deck. Moving on here, we've got a nice Wombo combo with Disciple of Nevermore. That is Dimensional Portal, which is a 4 mana blue spell. Summon 3 melee creeps. So it's like Better Late Than Never, but for 1 more mana, you get 2 additional creeps. You can only play it in 1 lane. This is, going to be the bread and butter of, setting up your assault ladders, your Disciple of Nevermores. It can also be used defensively, of course, to potentially block some damage. But if you're in that position with this deck, you're probably not in a great spot. Next card here is the Aggro Vandal, a 4 mana black creep, 4 attack, 4 health. Has a play effect, so when it comes into play, it deals 4 damage to the enemy tower. Pretty straightforward. Decent stats, not great, but decent stats. It's doing some direct damage to a tower, so if they're playing very fast and loose with their tower health and they think that they have everything blocked, you can play the Aggro Vandal and go over the top and deal that last 4 damage. So not the strongest card in the world, but a nice card to fit into the deck. Next card here is Conflagration, 5 mana blue improvement. That says deal 2 damage to each enemy before the action phase. So very strong card, especially against Disciple of Nevermore. It's going to be killing a lot of things. It's going to Conflagration. You can play it early and clear out a lane so that you are able to get in and attack that lane. Your opponent is not going to want to put resources into a lane that has a Conflagration on it, and that's going to open it up for you to have your Assault Ladders and Disciple of Nevermore lane. It is a little bit expensive, but you can play it on other lanes. So you can play it from the first lane into one of the other lanes and get the effect immediately. It can be very, it can be very strong. It's very strong. I don't know if I would be running this in an aggressive deck all the time, but potentially it is. It may be strong enough that you want to run it in all sorts of blue decks, but I think it's even better against an aggressive deck than it is in an aggressive deck. And the last card here we have in the regular deck is Steam Cannon, another kind of signature card here that we've seen used a lot over the weekend. It is a 7 mana black improvement that says it has an active ability with 1 cooldown, deal 4 piercing damage to a unit in any lane. So you can play this in your first lane, shoot something immediately in a different lane. Very, very strong. Especially if you're playing against a deck that doesn't have improvement removal, this can just take over a board. It can take over any board from any board very quickly and really swing the tides of battle in your favor. So yeah, a very nice finishing card for the blue-black aggressive deck. Moving on to the shop deck here, we have 2 copies of leather armor, 3 gold. Equipped hero has +1 armor. It is, of course, an armor slot card. We have the short sword, which is an attack slot card for 3 gold. Equipped hero has +2 attack. We've got the traveler's cloak, a health slot card. Equipped hero has +4 health for 3 gold. And then we move to the fur-lined mantle. It's a health slot card. Equipped hero has +8 health for 7 gold. And then the last card we have in the item deck is the Keenfolk musket for 7 gold. Equipped creature, it's an attack slot. Equipped hero has +2 attack and a 2 cooldown active that says deal 2 damage to a unit. So very strong. It's a very strong card. Obviously, it's going to give your hero attack, and then it can also interact with the board, which is very, very strong. So overall, I think the general consensus for this deck was that it was the weaker of the 4 decks. And I think I tend to agree. There's a couple of cards that, like I said, Conflagration is all right in this deck, but it's just a powerful card overall. I don't know how much it synergizes with this deck, and it just seems like the aggressive deck generally can be an aggressive deck can generally be very powerful at the beginning of a format. So I do imagine that once we see the full list of cards, we'll certainly have aggressive decks in Artifact. But with that being said, they need to be optimized, and they're not going to optimize an aggressive deck for the starter decks essentially for PAX West. So I think I'd keep your eye out for an aggressive deck. Perhaps it's blue-black still, maybe it's black-red, or even black-green. Maybe even still blue-black, but I imagine that there's going to be better options than the cards we got in this deck. It just seems like some of the cards, like an Untested Grunt is not the greatest. A Gloaty Vandal perhaps is not super great, and maybe there's some other changes you could make with cards once they come out. But overall, I like this deck. I think it's a very cool deck, and I've seen it win in some pretty interesting fashions. It can certainly take over the game very quickly if a lane is left unchecked. But overall, I think it's probably the weakest one, but there's certainly a lot of very powerful cards in it, and definitely keep your eye out for a lot of these cards when building your decks when the game actually comes out. But that's me, it, guys, for the blue-black deck from PAX West 2018. Let me know what you thought about it. Do you like this deck? Is this the best one? Is it the worst one? Is it somewhere in the middle? What's your favorite card from it? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Yeah, that'll certainly help me out. But that is going to be it, again, for heroesofartifact.com. I'm TheBlevins. You can follow me at twitch.tv/TheBlevins or on Twitter at @the_Blevins. That's where you can find me and all the artifact content that I'm producing. But again, remember to check out heroesofartifact.com, and we will see you guys later for the next video. Thanks for watching.